Now that I have really emphasized introductions and conclusions, because people are going to remember the first thing you say and the last thing you say. Really emphasize the purpose in informative speech. Because you have that framework, and speeches are basically based off patterns. How am I going to introduce it, give the information, and conclude it? There's a different kind of pattern and other patterns for persuasive speeches. You need to pattern it to get them from point A to point B, not just by telling them, but you want them to come along with the journey and be interested. The way to make an informative speech persuasive is very easy. Start putting in the word should there. But many of you have probably asked this question, I don't know that I can convince or persuade people to do this or that. That would be hard to do. How do I persuade someone? Let me dispel the myth for a moment. You do not have to fully convince someone in order for this to be a persuasive speech. Okay? We do not have to, let's say you chose a controversial topic. You approved that topic with me. Let's say why you should be pro-life. Okay? You're welcome to do controversial topics, have them approved from me. But do you think that's difficult to persuade someone, especially because of the nature of the sensitivity of the topic? Right? What if someone has had an abortion performed and they're in the class? Pressure, right? You need to know this for the test as well. You need to know this for all persuasive speeches when going in some professional way, in well-researched way. I think source citations is number 5 on this requirement. You need to really point to your research, not as you the sole authority, but sound research from other people. You've addressed the elephants in the room, the problems they would have. You need to put yourself in their shoes. But this is the thing you need to know for the test. All you have to do in order to be persuasive is to get them to consider what you have to say. Consider. That will take a lot of pressure off of you. And if it's a light, I want you to just consider what I'm having to ask you to say, I ask you to hear and listen to. People will listen. But if you get up here and start preaching, and there's a negative context when people get preachy, right? That's what I don't want you to be. People get passionate about some topics, and you're going to turn people away because you're yelling at them. You're not having a conversation with them like I would want you to have. They won't consider what you have to say if you're yelling at them. Because all they're going to hear is, you're bullheaded, and why should I listen to you, even though I know we're going to disagree? Make sense? And so there's an idea of being in good taste. There's an idea when you don't want to get so emotional about this because you're passionate about it, that people says, I'm going to check out because I didn't sign up for this. And they've got the mic, and I can't even defend. Or if they open the floor for questions, here we go. Make sense? Now, you do not have to choose a very deep or controversial topic to do well on this speech, to practice in order, or to practice on how to be persuasive. Let me give you the gamut of, I'm just going to open the floodgates of topics. You may choose one of these topics. You may choose one of the topics that I may go on specifically, but you need to make it your own. Okay? So here's some topics that people have done in the past. Why you should not drink sodas. A classic is why you should drink water. Why you should drink more water. Why you should adopt. Why you should give blood. Those are all classics. Okay? You can be more articulate if you want to. You can make this to benefit you and what you plan on doing, but understand your audience. Some topics you should not choose. Why you should go to college. We're in college. You're trying to convince the wrong audience. Now, how you can you adjust that to articulate it different? Why you should see and finish out college. That's a different type of topic, right? Because everybody evaluates as they go through. Man, I got 3 more years of this, right? How to get them across that finish line. Let's just go off the wall here, and it could be other topics, right? Why they should legalize marijuana. Why you should vote is a classic, but again, both of those are fine. Here's one. Why you should visit prison if you get a chance. That's what I've been thinking of writing, because I've been visiting prison quite often the last 3 months, and it is bettered my life because there's amazing people in prison, and it threw me for a loop. But why you should jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I'm going to use that one as an example to show you what I mean by helping people to consider what you have to say, because some people will never consider doing that. Or will they? Let's see. Why you should go on a road trip. Why you should go on a cruise. You know, like with a cruise, it's all you can eat. You know, they take you wherever you're going to go. There's many things you can give them reasons why it would be a better option as opposed to just going on your own, say a road trip or something like that, right? So it's going to be fun and very informative. Okay, why you should get the TSA pre-check if you fly a lot. It's golden, really. Believe me. If you don't know what TSA pre-check is, it allows you to go through and skip all the long waiting lines, and not even have to remove your belt and shoes or your computer out of your bag, and you go a lot more. Things go a lot more smoothly through the airport when you have TSA pre-check. If you travel like I do. Our brother was like, I took him traveling, and he's like, man, we just walked right through there. Do they need to check us or something like that? And I said, TSA pre-check. All right, so why you should visit the city of Boston and go down the historical trail. Amazing. But there will be other reasons where they should go and why in there. There's a particular spot where there's a grave in the middle of a cemetery. I think it's where the grave where Paul Revere is actually buried. There's a little mound in that cemetery about this high. And it's where they buried all the small children because the mortality rate of children was so high. And they would name a child the name that the mother, they would keep giving the names, and they would wear black. And it's just, listen to those, how life was so different during the, 18th century or 16th century. Just, Boston is just rich in history. Also the Patriots, also, watch a Boston Red Sox game, you can walk around the whole city. Philadelphia's the same way. Do it in another city. Let's see. You got the idea, right? And it could be why you should learn how to do something. Why you should learn how to sew. It's different than how to sew. Persuading someone has a different element to it. All persuasive speeches can start off with you informing your audience to a degree. So if you only give us a 4-minute kind of persuasive speech, you're not going to really try and be hitting us enough with all the opportunities to get us to do what you want us to do. Make sense? Now, let's talk about, and next week I'm actually going to give you 2 examples. I'm going to try and sell you a car. I sold cars for 4.5 years. I know the crooked way, and the right way, and the wrong way, and all those kinds of things. There's another thing I'm going to try and sell you. I'm going to save that for later because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But I'm going to go through the whole process in selling and convince you, back you in a corner, and you're not going to have anything you say. But I'm going to teach you what to say if you have a salesman that's backing you in a corner, and how you can prevent that so that you will not say, oh, I'm going to give me a job down at selling furniture at Turner's. And then they try and teach you how to be a crooked salesman without you knowing it. All right? So with all that being said, I usually give a disclaimer before those speeches. I want to say this as well before I get into an example. Look at the time here. So with this being said, here's this disclaimer. If you've taken my class on how to persuade people, which you're going through right now, and I see you on TV or I see you doing something to where you're persuading someone and doing something unethical in regards to persuading people to try and do something, I will give you a visit, a professional kind of courtesy to remind you of what you're doing is unethical and then wrong, and you know better.
But people don't have sense enough to say no.
Huh?
People don't have sense enough to say no. Like, no.
Well, that's true, but I don't want you being the bad guy. And does that make sense? I don't want you, because sometimes people get in positions where they have the microphone, and now they're passionate about something, and they want to say things, and they're going to start using language that's very sharp. You know how you have a married couple, they know right where to hurt somebody. And you'll hear people say things to be persuasive and be vicious and poisonous, and it's just wrong. It will not make the world a better place. You're just dividing people instead of having a conversation, healthy debates, which caused campuses at one time were supposed to be areas of free speech to be able to say things, even the details, as bad as they are, in a professional way. You can do that, but doing it in a vicious, censored way where no one else will be able to say anything, and you're destroying people's lives and character, and by slandering things and slandering the content, that's not right. All right. So let's talk about teaching you how to get people to consider what you want them to do. All right. The example I'm going to use is why you should jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Now, purpose of this speech is to get you to consider to jump out of a perfect good airplane so that you can have a thrill of your life and create an opportunity for yourself to experience something you never get to do again. All right? Now, about 17 years ago, I'd just gone through a divorce. I really had no reason to take myself out of harm's way, but I could buy a motorcycle if I could now that I'm single. I don't have someone else to be responsible for or children at the time. All right? So I could go and buy me a new truck. Did that. I could go jump out of a perfect good airplane. Did that. Why would you do such a thing? Because I could and I wanted to. And it seemed like a good idea at the time. A week later, after I jumped out of that airplane, by the way, the plane crashed. The old guy who was flying forgot to put out the landing gear. And I rode with that guy the first time up just to see what it was like. So let's go through this for a moment. They're going to take you up in the airplane and show you what it's like as people jump out. And they're going to land the airplane. So you get to see all of what you're getting into. Makes perfect good sense. But that will help you be prepared if you were going to do such a thing, but that's not going to persuade you to jump out of a perfectly good airplane with it. Let me ask you, here I'm going to interact with my audience, who wants to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? And what I could do on Zoom is I could get them to, raise their hands. They could give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So let me ask my live audience, thumbs up. Who would like to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? I got 1 thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. I got a maybe, I don't know. And I'm not even putting my hands up. And I've got a no. And I consider you can shut up now. And I'm really considering it. They're just listening you speak. So what would it take for me to convince the maybes and the I would nevers to consider what I have to say? So think of this as a spectrum. You've got people way over here. Shut up, here's my money. Let's do it right now. When we going? Set a date. Come on. Why are you still talking? People over here, you will never get me to go near that place or in a car with you because I know now that you do something that stupid. Well, I would never do something like that. So I've got a spectrum of people in the audience, in regards to this type of thing, right? How would I get Snowy to jump out of a perfect good airplane? I want to probably never do that, and I'm reconciled, and I've resolved myself to sit there saying that I'm not going to beat myself up that I did not succeed in getting Snowy to jump out of a good airplane. That is not my goal. All I want her to do is consider. Okay? Flying airplanes are expensive. Gasoline and the hours it takes to get certified in order to jump takes a lot of time. So it is going to cost something, right? At the time, and what I would do is the research, cost is sometimes a problem for some people. They may be in the maybes, but I can't afford that right now. If I can get them a little bit closer. So here's the technique. To get them to consider, only to consider, they're probably never going to jump, but just to consider, you need to know this for the test as well, you need to give them baby steps. Not lie to them, which you'll be tempted to do in some speeches. Here's a form of lying. I'm going to withhold information that makes my position look bad. Or I'm going to withhold information about a problem that I don't know that I could really answer in regards to speech that everybody some people may actually ask. If you don't address those, your audience is going to in their mind. That means you need to do your research. So how much does it cost? You can live in front of the class, pull up Google, how much does it cost to jump out of a perfect good airplane? For me, it was $75. I had the money at the time, and perfectly understandable. I paid, and you can compare it to other things. Who here goes to the movies? All right, is it expensive to go to the movies? You take a family of 4 to the movies, you're looking at $150 to go to the movies. That's 4 people, but jumping out of an airplane, you can get a flight from Jacksonville. I actually looked this up today, from Jacksonville to Norfolk for $89. Sure, but this is a one-way ticket. Your return flight's paid for because you get to parachute back down. You do not have to be trained. It all is you show up that day and you can go and you can fly out that afternoon. They're going to give you the whole training and the whole spiel. Here's the neat thing about this. They'll fly you up, show what it looks like. You can back out at any time, but you do not even have to pull the lever for them to release the parachute. It's called, you were required to take what's called a tandem jump, where there will be an individual on your back that knows exactly what they're doing and what altitude they need to pull the lever and all those kinds of things. And if you're scared about, making that first step, don't worry. It's okay. He's going to push you out because he's strapped to your back anyway, or she. And you'll be going because you're on that edge and now there's no turning back. I'd play you the video, but you don't need to see that. So notice the elements of what I've covered. Remember when I earlier spoke on informing people, aim for their head, their heart, their wallet, and their quality of life. Head, does it make any logical sense? Heart, how can your passion will help them be passionate about it, because sometimes fun is contagious, right? Enjoyment. Wallet, is there any obstacles? Just general cost. Yeah, they want to all day long, and they don't care if it makes sense or not, but they just don't have the money. Think about your topic. Quality of life can be, I don't want to die. Back during when I jumped, there used to be a doctor over in Perry. His name was Dr. Sugar. I think it was that same year he died from an actual parachute jump. The reality is people die from parachute jumps. There was one, sadly, around that same time, I heard that a paraplegic jumped, tandem jumped, but they weren't rigid enough and they slipped out of the parachute. Crazy to think about. Like, oh my gosh, right? They actually had it on the news and they're trying to hold on to that person. I know it's scary. But let me give you one statistic. Here's the power of facts.
I'm just trying to imagine it slipping.
Let me pull this up, by the way. What is the likelihood, what is the mortality rate? Let me pull this up. Great websites, Pew Research, CDC. I know you can't see it on your screen. Now, this is different than base jumping. Base jumping is a low altitude. You're throwing it out in the parachute and then you land. It's like bam, bam, bam. This is higher altitude. All right. So let me show you this. You're wondering, what's the likelihood of you passing away? With modern equipment and training methods, fatalities occur less than 1 per 100,000 cases. Serious injury and hospitalization 2 per 10,000 cases. This puts the assessment of skydiving as a high-risk sport into perspective. Okay, I could deal with 1 in 100,000. All right. What you can do is compare it to other statistics. Lightning strikes. It builds in a little bit of interest. Why are you doing that? Lightning strikes can produce severe injuries, but I'm doing different numbers here. Between 10 and are lethal between 10 and 30% of cases. So of those people that get struck by lightning, 10 to 30% of them actually die. Up to 80% survive. I don't know that that's a comparison that would be relevant. So what you want to do is something that might be more relevant. Car fatalities. 14 per 100,000, representing a 54% improvement in 1938. All right, so what this is saying is you have a higher risk of dying in a car accident than you do actually from jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Did y'all see that? 1 in 100,000 die of a skydive. 14 out of 100,000. That's right. If I did, what I want you need to be truthful with the information. I'm just saying that you can show apples for apples, oranges for oranges, and statistics can bring those things to light and get them to consider this a little bit more. Now, that might not be convincing for Snowy, but I still haven't lost because there's the interest factor scenario. I didn't know that. Okay, she's still hearing it. Okay? She might not want to go, but she may pay for me to go. that might be an alternative of why I'm informing them. Or let's say, well, why you should go on a mission trip, right? And it doesn't have to be church related. It could be just a mission trip for, say, helping some group. And you've convinced them that this is a worthwhile cause, but it's too expensive for them to be able to give that much time. That's wallet. It might not be financially, but it was just time is a cost. But you can backdoor it by sitting there and saying, even though you may not be able to go, you can support people like me by giving to this fund to help us go, and that way they can go by giving. Make sense? And what way can you give what you're trying to persuade them to do a wider aperture to get more buy-in, if you will? Make sense? It's sort of like, I can remember when I was a child asking my mom and dad if I could do something. You do this all the time. What way can you get them to be convinced of why they should let you go do something? You're going to war game it. You're going to really put the brass tacks to it. You're going to do the research. You're going to sit there and say, see, Mom, Dad, if I don't do this, then I'm end up, more likely this is going to happen. Before and after, cause and effect, pros and cons. have to, in persuasive speeches, embody the passion, the desire of why you want them to do what you want them to do. Not that you have to be spastic about it, but it's that you can see all the angles of why they may be opposed to doing what you ask them to do. Let's go to something more neutral in a sense. We don't even talk about that. I need to persuade them of why they should not be running up and down the sidewalks while we're having class. Now, one thing is just, for instance, why you should adopt a child. You may not even be in the realm of even having children right now, but it might be the long-term game. I'm opening the aperture there, and I'm addressing the issue that I can see y'all got college, you got your careers, you got to get settled, not even married. Why adoption may be an option for you in the future. Okay? And I think I've given you this example. I'm 100% sure I gave you this example. How did they get us to consider it? I wasn't considering it at the time. But their concrete object was their new baby brother. Well, not baby at the time, their younger brother was brought them, come from behind the stage, and really put a personal touch that made it all reality. That this could be something that I could maybe want to do one day in the future. At least I would consider it and not, I never thought that was an option. That's a part of informing people. Informing them that these things exist, that they can give blood, or what are the obstacles to giving blood? Well, if you have this type of condition, you can't. But what can you do to help giving blood? You maybe can give to the cause. You're still persuading them to give blood, but by financially supporting it, right? Because you're passionate about it, you care about it. You think it's important for them to know. You can, now, I will say this, if you go with a topic that is like faith-based, they're harder to do. I live in the world of the faith-based persuasion, okay? And if in any way you're inauthentic, they think you're a cheat, if you don't cover all the questions, if you don't, or if you're not honest with the objections, then you might actually could do more harm. And that's the fear, right? Of doing more harm than good and trying to persuade someone. Especially if you're dealing with matters of the eternal and life, life after death, if that's such a thing. But if it's important to you and you're prepared, then you can speak on it because you know you've asked those questions and you want others to hear your reasons why you chose or believe or would do something. Make sense? It can be very intimidating, or it could be a challenge that you find very fun. I don't think it's fun in the sense of, well, that's improper because you're talking about, say it's abortion versus pro-life, right? That doesn't sound fun. In a sense, the challenge can make you grow and can be better in that kind of sense when I say fun. So because you don't want to, misrepresent the situation. Here's one of the things that I don't want you to do as we're wrapping this up. I don't want you to flippantly choose some research that sounds good and not putting it in your own words. Because they may have some sharp, pointed, very straight to the point, substantial support, and you're just saying it because somebody else said it. Know what you're saying and why you're saying what you're saying. For instance, let's say you're talking about pro-choice, pro-life. I'm not saying pro-abortion, am I? All right. What each side is going to do in that debate is going to use words that put their side in a better light. Okay? You can definitely be on the opposing side of either of that issue if you so freely choose to do so. But do your research and do it professionally. Does that make sense? People need to hear the debate. Have you considered? And you give them the research. Have you considered? You give them the research. But notice this. this isn't the first time people have heard these things, and they may have already, you got people in the audience, and that's what makes some people nervous, is like, I know there's people in the audience may have been well researched more than me, and I definitely don't want to say something that, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was being offensive. Because, like I said, there may be people in the room that may have gone through an abortion before, right? Take some tact. That might give you a clue. You know, maybe I need to choose a different topic. Even though I'm passionate about this, maybe I'm not ready. Or, if you think you want to try it out, we can try it. And you can say, you know, with all intent, you know, begin with the speech. In no way will I try to be disparaging to the other side. This is my attempt at a difficult subject, which is dear to me, of trying to address the issues on both sides. By the end of the speech, hopefully you would choose to be X. Does that make sense? I think disclosing up front your intent that you care and you're not trying to. Now, I've seen people do that and come back around and just try and blast people because they think they got a free shot now, and I don't think that's ethical. Make sense? All right. Do you have any questions to close with? May not come up until you start picking your topic, your persuasive topic. Oh yeah, another thing I don't want you to do is play a video of somebody else giving a speech as your last speech for your persuasive speech. I've had that happen. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I know you said like for a concrete object, you don't want images, but it's like pictures. Can you be like a physical picture?
No, you can have images all day long, but that is not going to equate and count as your concrete object.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
won't. I have to have a concrete, tangible object to give you credit, because I want you to see the power of them.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like, what if you bring like a pretty like picture?
And the thing
It
is-
depends. It depends. I've had students show a picture of the family that adopted them, but when they gave us the one and only picture that they don't make anymore, that was printed out, you know, when you go home to mom and dad's and they open up the box, you got all those. Back on our day, we got those photos that had to be printed. Those are tangible things that you, unless you copy and put on digital now, they're not going to exist again. Those are precious to us and bring back a lot of memories. That's a tangible object, but on a screen, it's not the same. Does that make sense? Maybe you can show that same image, but you know, in the image you see the bracelet you're wearing, and you show them the bracelet you were wearing. This is what I was given on that day. Does it make sense that them by seeing that bracelet, they know that it means something to you, and it's because it's real. Anything digital, it's just not the same. Did that answer your question? How about in addition to what you want to show, think of just something else. It doesn't have to be directly under your topic. It could be associated to your speech, a concrete object. Make sense? You just don't want to bring a concrete object because you're trying to spite me? No. You see what I'm saying? Think of something that you can bring. It can be very subtle. Everybody get out your phones. That's a concrete object. People are attached to those things. And everybody has one. Right? Well, most everybody. Make sense? One lady, she did and I'll close with this. I think I've mentioned it, but I don't mind repeating myself. The concrete object she actually brought, she was talking about why you should de-stress your life. She brought a cinder block of concrete. And she showed how stress was like carrying around this concrete block all day long. Me discussing it is one thing, but I literally saw her having to lift that thing and hold that thing throughout the speech, and having to switch arms. It was a powerful image. Okay? And then when you put that stress down, you choose to carry some stress.
It's really smart.
Yeah. Y'all got any questions, concerns, comments? Please get with me after class. I will give you your speeches rubrics right now. Thank you so much.